What is going on, everybody? Week 5 of the NFL is behind us. And my God, where do we start? One team's dominating the hell out of everybody. One team's embarrassing themselves. In fact, there's multiple teams like this. And there's a lot to get into. So why don't we just get into it right here, right now, with Alex Ranelio, Nico Nocera, and Hayden. Why did I forget your name for saying Hayden Nadler? I was so amazed by that beautiful backdrop that I lost my train of thought for a second. But again, we have Hayden, Nico, and Alex here. What's going on, guys?
Not much.
What up, gentlemen? Happy to be back.
Same. Let's do it. Let's have an episode.
Yes, sir. Let's have an episode. And let us begin by talking about the New York Jets once again as they played the Denver Broncos at Mile High City. And in a game that was sloppy on both sides, we did see one team prevail, though. We saw an improved Zach Wilson play. Even though there are still things to improve on, he did play much better. And he was also pretty clutch, so give credit to him. The Jets' defense really does help decide games, including a crucial game-ending fumble that Russell Wilson lost in his grasp and helped the Jets seal the deal. And speaking of that, it seems that Russell Wilson is on a road to irrelevancy. His time in Denver is not what we expected. And you have Sean Payton with such a disastrous start for his Denver Broncos, starting at 1-4. I mean, what is the bigger story here, guys? The Denver Broncos turning into a mighty, mighty joke, or the Jets keeping their season alive and making things relevant? Good for them.
I'll start here. Before I start, actually, I want to address something actually kind of serious. With the events going on with Israel and the Middle East, I just want to put it out there that I stand with Israel and what's going on right now. It's a very scary time, and although we want to talk about football and everything, it's very scary what's going on there. And I just want to show my support for the people of Israel. It's a really tough time for a lot of Jews, myself included. So I just want to put that out there. To start. Going on about the game. Every single year, this guy Sean Payton has proven that he is the most overrated coach ever. He's so overrated. He talks about Nathaniel Hackett with the worst coaching job ever. He's doing even worse. Even worse. Every game that the Broncos have lost by has been by more than one score so far. Broncos have lost games that they've got destroyed by Miami. Miami put up a 70 spot on them. You lost to Zach Wilson at home. You lost, and then you just basically spent all off season criticizing Nathaniel Hackett, only to lose to the same coordinator, right? You give up 177 yards in the ground versus the Jets. Zach Wilson threw for 199 yards. Although basically I didn't love the pick that he threw, but there was also a back shoulder throw. But I'll also take that because I felt like it was a throw that I feel like at least they were taking a shot. So yeah, I'll take that. Just some key takeaways that I saw. Zach Wilson can make big time throws. He had to throw to Tyler Conklin on 3rd and 4. He's still prone to mind-numbingly mistakes. The terrible clock management, failing to spike the ball or throw it out of bounds with 15 seconds left to not secure points. Like I talked about, that interception, I would say is more on the fact that Pat Surtain just made a phenomenal play. Breece Hall is still that dude. If they want to compete with Philly, they got to give him 25, 30 carries, in my opinion, and run the offense straightly through him. Xavier Gibson showed his youth a lot with a fumble and a muff punt. The D-line took the game over with multiple sacks of Russ. Quincy Williams is becoming one of the best linebackers in the game with strip sack, and Bryce Hall moved up for a score. The O-line still a major work in progress. Stepped up in the run blocking game, however, and helped pave some big holes for Breece Hall. And some of the thing that I think the Jets still have to work on too is third down defense, 3rd and long. This is the second consecutive game, okay? I understand they got that huge stop and they won the game with Quincy Williams that forced fumble, but this is the second consecutive game which they've given up 3rd and 15 or longer 3 times in crunch time. That absolutely cannot happen. You got to get it off the field. But they did force the big play, and force several turnovers. So I think this is more in the fact that Denver is just a dumpster fire right now. Sean Payton keeps running his mouth, and he's just the biggest clown in all of football right now. Guy's a joke. But big win. I mean, anytime you win a game in the NFL, it's a huge deal as a Jet fan. But on to Philly, and there's no reason, in my opinion, why we can't beat Philadelphia. Although Philadelphia is 5-0, they're going to lose some games eventually. So why can't that be versus us at home? And that D line, and hopefully we can run the ball with Brees Hall. Terrible loss losing Vera Tucker and the offensive line. It's going to be huge. So I'll let you guys add on to that. But those are just some of my key takeaways from the Jets game as a Jet fan.
Absolutely, Hayden. And also just want to add too, and not just speaking for Alex and Nico, but I'm sure they feel the same way, that we are here with you, Hayden. We no doubt hope for a better future, what's going on in the conflict in the Middle East. And we just do not support anybody who is taking innocent lives, no matter what age or what gender you are. But we are with you, Hayden. Just want to say that, both on and off the screen. And having said that as well, and adding to it, the big thing here, Hayden, and I think also, not only with Denver becoming such a dumpster fire it is, but the fact that the Jets show that they can have a pulse going into this season, and how that is encouraging as well, for sure. And yeah, I think even though, like I said, the game may have been sloppy on both sides, it wasn't matter who won the most, and you at least could get out of it. And even with these rumbling of trade rumors of with Justin Jefferson's injury, and if Kirk Cousins is on the move, and if he goes to the Jets, but let's be real, he's probably not going to get dealt. They're going the whole way, Zach Wilson, and understandably so. But at least it shows moving forward as we get it deeper to October or November, and we know the name of the game is to play meaningful games in December in this league. The Jets can at least show they got something there compared to like my team, for instance.
Yeah, or mine. No, yeah. So I mean, Hayden hit on most of the biggest points. I thought that this was a big coming out party for the new season for Brees Hall. I thought that he bludgeoned this defense, controlled the clock, controlled the game. If you look at this, pretty much the remaining stats across the board, the meaningful stats, you would almost think that this game was a draw, but the reality is that Denver just made too many turnovers. They let the Jets push them around on the offensive line, and Zach Wilson wasn't asked to overextend himself. I mean, yeah, he made a few mistakes, but the reality is you could see his progressions getting better week by week, and they look like they look like a winning football team.
Yeah, Alex and Hayden basically hit everything regarding this game, but my personal biggest takeaway was the play of the offensive line by the Jets. I think the Jets offensive line really got some confidence after this week, that they're like, you know what? We might not be the best team that we can't pass protect that well. Let's run the ball. Hayden hit on it earlier. I think if Brees Hall gets 25, 30 carries a game, they can be in any single game from here out for the rest of the season. One thing I will say that just absolutely can't happen. Two things I have, but that end of the half, I know Hayden touched on.
Oh yeah, no, that was atrocious. That situational gameplay was awful.
That's
terrible.
been the Jets
that cannot happen. You have to
5 years.
To spike that ball, or you have to throw it out of bounds. Like you
Figure
can't. That play can happen.
Exactly. Like then, and that's like in those plays. Like, granted, you play Denver, who has the worst defense through 5 weeks we've ever seen, in my opinion. But if you like this game versus Philadelphia, a mistake like that will cost you everything. You can't have that happen.
And the red zone offense has to improve. You can't come away with field goals with Philly. They're gonna turn those into points.
Absolutely. And yeah, and then one thing I also want to touch on is biggest asshole of the year so far award goes to Sean Payton. You can't come in making these comments. Can't be saying about Hackett.
He's a joke. He's a joke.
I was a Sean Payton guy. I was always a Sean Payton guy until this year. You can't come in saying these things, making these claims, and then playing against Hackett. This is what you're going to do. You're going to lose to the Jets. Zach Wilson's a massive question mark, and you're going to let Brees Hall. They had 200 plus yards rushing as a team, but Brees Hall alone had 177 yards. And on paper so far, besides the Giants, the Jets have not had a great offensive line, but they dominated up front. Both ways, D-line and O-line, the Jets just dominated both sides of the ball, and that was something I was very impressed to see from the Jets.
Russell Wilson, is it over yet? Are we seeing? I don't even know the Are we seeing the
The
beginning of
writing on
the
the wall.
end
I don't think we're
of somebody?
I don't think we're seeing the writing on the wall for the beginning again. I think we're just getting a more realistic picture of who he is. I think that he was definitely held up and propped up by Pete Carroll and that defense. They gave him a really very fortunate and opportunistic offense there up in Seattle, and his best days were there because of not only his career trajectory but the system that was around him. So
Mhm.
I think this is not necessarily um, showing that it's the end for him in his career. I think there's always a place for guys like him in the NFL. I just think you're getting a more realistic and more accurate read on what his contribution is to a winning team, or if he can do so.
Let me ask a bold question. Russell Wilson decides to retire today. Is he a Hall of Famer?
No.
Boy, it's
Ooh.
tough to ask.
Yeah.
No
I
way.
say yeah.
I don't want to say no way. I think he has to have a winning season in Denver for him to be a Hall of Famer.
That's all it takes.
I do. I think maybe I don't
Guys
know
have-
turning around. They have to turn it around because I feel like it's kind of destroyed his legacy. But if he would have just retired after not going to Denver, he probably would have been a Hall of Famer based off his stats in Seattle.
There was, I agree. There was that 4-year stretch where, granted, they only had one ring, where the Seahawks were the team you did not want to see. They were
No,
arguably the best team.
He was the best player. He was one of the best quarterbacks from probably 2012 to about 2019.
It really
in the
was.
league. In the league.
It really was Super Bowl 49. That interception changed the whole trajectory. Literally watching the moment, that really changed so many people's careers. That really is a historic moment, a top 10 historic moment, arguably, in the entire league. That one play. I'm sure we look at him a lot differently if they gave Marshawn Lynch the ball or if he somehow converted, but it looked like
he
they
would
would
have
go
had two.
from
He
the
would have had
start.
2 Super Bowls. So it's an interesting argument.
We'll move on in a second, but did you happen to see one of my new favorite podcasts, Club Shay Shay, Shannon Sharp with Marshawn Lynch, and hear a Marshawn side of the story?
He basically said that what Russell Wilson wasn't a guy who you could talk to.
That stuff helps. That really affects you, treating people the way you want to be treated. But also the thing that stuck out the most to me was after that play, goes in the locker room. He said, now I guess this really is the way you quote unquote should approach the situation when you throw a Super Bowl losing interception for a whole, franchise and city. And, that'll be remembered forever, arguably more than your Super Bowl win, destroying the Broncos. But he simply said after throwing that, well, get him next time. And then you just hear Marshawn Lynch just go to Pete Carroll's face and laugh at him. I mean, shit. The things we do, gentlemen, with sports, the littlest thing changes a whole lifetime of perception. So let us keep going with that. On Sunday night, we had the 49ers destroy the Dallas Cowboys. It was amazing. Dak Prescott looked absolutely atrocious, and we loved it. The Cowboys defense had a really bad game, and Dak did nothing to help. And the 49ers, as I said last week, they're coasting their way to the playoffs. Brock Purdy could arguably be a top 10 quarterback at this point. He has his top weapons as long as they're healthy, and he seems to make it work with other weapons as well. He's getting protected. The man has some great football IQ. Still undefeated in the regular season, 10-0, I believe, 10-0 or 11-0. And his one loss was from an early game injury hurting his elbow. Miles Jack, not Miles Jack, but what's his name from the Eagles? Broke his elbow. Anyways, and this guy's just is nothing but winning, and I think he's better than what Jimmy G ever was. And you have to be feeling really comfortable right now with Brock Purdy's play. I want to talk about that first. Brock Purdy and the 49ers. Is he really convincing you that, man, this guy can play in this league, Mr. Irrelevant?
Absolutely. I think he's doing exactly what he has to do. He's getting the ball to the playmakers, not turning the ball over, just playing smart football. Very good situationally. He just knows the game of football, and he's playing smart. He knows that he doesn't have to throw jump balls to Debo. Doesn't have to throw the ball to Ayuk. He checks it down if he needs to. He's not going to force anything. He plays the right game, and they're going to win games. And I really think this game, more than anything, say how Dak did play bad and say what you want about the Cowboys, just really, to me, showed that San Francisco is the best team in the NFL, and it might not be close.
Might not be. And, adding to that with the Dallas aspect, though, I ask with Dak's poor play, the only thing, Dallas has defeated 3 teams so far. It were the Jets, Giants, and Patriots, who some people may consider weaker teams in the league. The Jets, jury's still out. But with Dallas's play lately, Micah Parsons hasn't been as dominant, for instance. CeeDee Lamb seems to never be getting the ball. Tony Pollard is here and there. They just lost Van Der Esch, which is going to be a huge deal, and we definitely thoughts and prayers. That neck injury was nasty. I don't know if you saw. Oh, he just compressed it on Micah Parsons' shoulder, and really hope he makes a full recovery. But they have that. They lose. They also lost. They lose Diggs on defense. It's not a good situation over there, and they really need to figure this out. What are thoughts on Dallas after the first 5 weeks after this past game and everything that's gone on with them?
Well, I think they got humbled. Kind of what we alluded to. San Francisco is, far and away not only the best team in the NFC, but the best team in the league, quite frankly, through 5 weeks. They're kind of exactly where I thought they would be, and even more impressive than that. And the numbers bear it out. But I think that Dallas kind of got humbled. They'll lick their wounds. They'll get back up for next week's game. But the offensive. The offensive numbers were abysmal. Dak got exposed. He missed routine throws. I've said it repeatedly over the years before his contract was solidified. And Brock Purdy is the real deal. It's a perfect storm for him because he kind of has like the Brady effect. He's got the coach. He's got the perfect roster to walk into. He just has to stay out of his own way, and they'll be easily walking back into the Super Bowl if he can do that. So I thought this was just, another statement game to show how dominant they could be. They had a real big flex at home. And I was very impressed with what I saw on all 3 phases of the game from San Francisco.
I'll talk a little bit about San Francisco. I think San Francisco's a dominant team. I agree with everything you guys said. I think they're the best team in the NFC at this point in time right now. That being said, I haven't really seen a team really hit them in the mouth and punch them. I'm telling you, I think Detroit's going to actually be a pretty tough matchup for them stylistically. I don't really think they're personally going to be ready for Detroit to really hit them in the mouth and really go after them because, in my opinion, the NFC isn't full of a bunch of dogs. I think Philly has proven that they're a little bit more battle tested in adversity. I haven't seen that personally yet from San Francisco, so I can't really just assume that they're just going to waltz their way into the Super Bowl. I actually don't. I think they're going to have a hard time with teams like Detroit and Philly, teams that are physical with great D lines, great offensive lines that can be able to neutralize San Francisco. I don't think it's a cakewalk that they're going to make the Super Bowl. I don't. I think they're going to have a great regular season, but I think when you have a team like that that's really been able to waltz through the first 5 games, hasn't really been punched in the mouth yet or tested, I think they're gonna be in for it a little bit. That's just my personal opinion. I'm actually pretty impressed with what I've seen from Detroit and Philly. Even the NFC South too. I actually think it's been pretty interesting that Tampa, Atlanta, and New Orleans are all teams that I feel like really hit you and make it a very physical game. So I personally am not going to sit here and say that I think San Francisco is going to also be able to take that easily. I don't. I think they're going to lose a couple of games. If I'm looking through the schedule, I think they could lose to Philly. I think Seattle's going to be a tough game. There's certain teams. I think even the Washington Commanders with their D-line are going to give them a little bit of problems. So we'll see. I don't think they're going to waltz their way to the Super Bowl. I don't. I think it's going to be tough for them, and Brock Purdy still has to prove that he's the guy. Because even though last season, they had a great run, still got hurt. Philly still beat them, and you can't really. I can't personally just put them in the Super Bowl unless I see how they deal with adversity because they haven't really had any so far.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised you're withholding Hayden. San Francisco being the shoe-in favorite as the best team in the league right now because
no, they're the best team in the league right now of play without a question. I can't disagree with you on that. What you said is 100,000% correct. They've played the best so far. But I'm not going to go around and anoint them to go to the Super Bowl right now. I don't think that's the correct thing to do because I feel like the NFC is a little better than anticipated. 1 through 5.
I do agree. I do. Oh, Alex, you want to go? No.
No, go ahead.
I do agree. I think the NFC is a lot better than we anticipated. But with that being said, I still think the Cowboys are a clear cut, probably not anymore after this week. And going into this week, I thought they were a clear cut number 3 behind Philadelphia and San Francisco. Now you got a team like Detroit that I think is in that question as well. And they just manhandled them. And I just really, really
And I'm
think
telling you, dude, watch out for New Orleans too because they're pretty stingy on D. They can really get after people.
There's a lot of sneaky teams, and I think there definitely is going to be a lot of sneaky teams. But
and with Derek Carr, there could be Tampa Bay too. I feel like with Baker, it's going to be a lot improved. So there's a couple of teams I feel like are going to be better this year than last year.
Absolutely, yeah. No, we'll see. I just can't believe versus the team that I just really thought the Cowboys were my clear cut number 3 team in the NFC, and San Francisco did that to them. And I don't want to play this team if I'm a fan of any other team. I go through your sports book right now, bet San Francisco to win the Super Bowl, and you'll be happy come February.
You heard it here first. All right. Why don't we move on and talk about a team that will definitely not be in the Super Bowl this year, and that's the New York Giants. Where do I take this? Where do I take the New York Football Giants? I came on the show and I said before the season, I thought this team had so much potential. I thought they'd at least make the wild card, and I thought they were a year away from actually becoming a dominant NFC team. And of course, after playing the Miami Dolphins, who we did not expect to really get a victory out of them, we just wanted a competitive game. Maybe there was 2 minutes of that thinking that was going to happen. And then I witnessed a team just in disarray all over the place. Again, with the exception of not seeing the sidelines fight each other. I mean, you 3 saw Evan Neal, which is truly the worst example of an offensive tackle play in the league. You know, in my limited high school experience, I can't say I would do any better than Evan Neal. And I'm not going to say that. But my God, especially in that one play where early in the first quarter, where we see the defensive end just roll past him, and we see Evan Neal just like block the air. You see Daniel Jones get sacked another 6 times in the game and has a nasty whiplash, which leads to a neck injury. And he's had neck issues before, and we do not want the worst case scenarios to happen there. Looks like there is a good chance he's going to play on Sunday night against the Bills, which is already a mess. But my God, I'm just so confused and my mind is bottled. And how could a team that we thought would, and I understand a team that was early, that clearly overachieved last year, but at least made some strides to the roster and kept the coordinators, and they are the very worst team in the league. And if it wasn't for a historic comeback in the second half against the Cardinals, this team can really compete for a top. This franchise can tank for a top pick under the Dayball and Shane era. Like, oh my goodness, like I look like a fool supporting Daniel Jones, and I will stick by it. But I will say an honest question. If you got sacked as many times as Daniel Jones, where most of the time it looks like the guy's running for his life, how can we really see the potential this man really has if he's, again, in immense pressure all the time, and he's literally getting his head decapitated? And that's my ultimate unfair criticism that people, that I think that's an unfair criticism with Daniel Jones right now. And I do know that some of these sacks are most definitely his fault too. You know, running into places that he can be vulnerable. But for the most part, if you have such a horrendous offensive line, you can't show your true potential as a quarterback in this league or any level.
I mean, I guess I'll go on a little bit. Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. The offensive line has been completely overmatched. That's on Joe Shane. Like, your GM, in my opinion, has not done enough to really upgrade the roster offensively. And, I heard all the season about how these receivers, were improved and whatever. I have not seen any of that. No one on that field could get any separation. Darren Royal is the only guy who can even catch a ball in the entire roster, and even he's a shell that the guy who used to be on Oakland, not the Raiders, not Oakland, the Las Vegas Raiders. So yeah, it's overall been an extremely disappointing year, but I mean they have a terribly constructed roster. The offensive line is absolutely horrendous. The receiving position is just not good enough. You don't have that game-breaking tight end. You just don't have enough. You don't have enough firepower in that offense, and that's entirely on the GM and entirely on the organization. I think you're in a battle right now, actually, between you and New England as the two worst positional groups in the entire National Football League. They've just given Daniel Jones zero help, but in my opinion, too, when you're getting paid as much as you are making, as you have to elevate your game, which in my opinion he hasn't done enough of. So it's a combination of that. You have a very mediocre quarterback, in my opinion, who's overpaid and, quite frankly, is not doing enough to elevate his game in series of adverse circumstances. But that being said, there's not a lot of quarterbacks, in my opinion, would succeed under the line being as atrocious as it is, and the overall poor roster construction that's been done by Joe Shane and the organization itself. Like, they have to start getting some heat. Like, the offense is just absolutely horrendous, and the line is horrendous, and just everything about that organization, in my opinion, needs to be flipped. Whether that means you have to, Daniel Jones has never had that guy like a number one, like even like the Jets, like they have a Breece Hall, like they have a Garrett Wilson, like they don't have that one game-changing player. Like, who's your game-changing player? Darren Waller?
Well, it was supposed to be Saquon, but he's injured.
I mean, and that's the problem. And you even see the absence of Saquon Barkley and Andrew Thomas. Like,
yes,
you think that they can't do anything running the ball. Like, it's almost scary how little they can run the ball. When you watch the Jets, even they have Breece Hall can really, break a hole or have a game-changing run. Like, you see without Saquon, this offense can't do anything. In my opinion, this is just me. You could argue Saquon Barkley is more important to the Giants than Daniel Jones is. That's my personal opinion. I'll let everyone else give their take on that, but that's my opinion.
Yeah. I think this offense is very anemic. I thought that, a couple weeks back, the San Francisco game, if they could hold it tight, that you would see a little more promise in this team. But it just looks like a team that's just confused and in disarray, and doesn't have, just even the hint at explosiveness on offense. They're very predictable, very not Dayball-esque, I guess you could say. And part of it is limitations of Daniel Jones. Part of it is the mix of that just Swiss cheese offensive line, but they don't have just enough defensive like playmakers that are able to even kind of carry this team. So there's a lot of deficiencies from personnel perspective all across the board. Obviously, like what we think of Miami, they're a great team. So we knew that this was kind of going to be a predictive kind of result score, but just the domination on the ground game. Like, the one thing that Miami does great is play action and through the air. And we know McDaniels is a whiz, but you need to stop the run. Otherwise, you're bleeding to death. You can't let that go on and persist. And and even with that, New York still won time of possession. But I just think that Miami has too many playmakers, New York doesn't, and it really boils down to that. And you can see the guys for New York just not putting in enough effort as well.
Yeah, and adding to that with all the speed, all the Dolphins. I mean, Devon Achane.
But he got hurt, so that comes at a price. So, but
true, exactly. He's going to be out a few weeks with a knee injury. But him and Mostert, when healthy, are one of the best 1-2 punches we'll ever see. Obviously, Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill speak for themselves, and Tua feel confident in the pocket. I mean, I will say the Giants' defense did have a good game. Pick six, a couple picks, 1 pick 6. I mean, there's even a point that team was no threat. I think it was in the third quarter where Tua throws an interception and he laughs because he knew, like, oh, this team's not going to do anything.
I mean, credit to Jason Pinnock though for taking that pick 6.
Indeed, former Jet.
Yeah, from Jet.
No, I agree with every one of you said so far. But Hayden, you touched on it. My whole thing is it's an organization problem. We gotta take this organization, crumble it up, throw it out. Matt, I
Yeah,
know
no,
you're a fan. I apologize.
it's been
Oh, don't
terrible.
be. No, don't be. It's just what's so ironic because you get a new regime from the start. That was essentially a time to replace Daniel Jones was last year to bring in your own system guy. You overachieve. You get to the playoffs. You get a playoff win against Minnesota. You had the conflict to
Well, you got
pay
to play
Saquon
that.
and
That win was a little bit deceiving because you also ranked 32nd versus ranked pass defense in the entire league versus Minnesota.
of course,
So,
but despite all this and this weird instance of timing happening, that it's really weird if you're going to get your own system guy. And I know they could get out of the Daniel Jones deal at the end of 2024, so you at least have him rest of this
well,
year and next year.
you got to give him a better line and more playmakers if you're going to do that because I mean, this
Yeah.
year they screwed him beyond belief, and that's not me apologizing for him because he hasn't been good this year. But to be honest with you, no, there's not too many quarterbacks that actually could succeed with that line. In all fairness,
Right. So it's just a very unique situation right now, and you do get the mulligan because you are the reigning coach of the year, but the GM so far doesn't. It looks like some of
Game hasn't
he's
drafted well
picking.
either. I'm just telling you that the
Kayvon
draft.
Thibodeau
Yeah,
is
Kayvon Thibodeau. While I don't mind Kayvon Thibodeau personally, I think he's a pretty good player. He's not the type of guy. He's not a Micah Parsons. He's not a game-changing defensive end. Like I don't think, but I don't think they necessarily even drafted him to be that game-changing tight end. And Wink Martindale's system, the most sacks I believe ever for a guy in the first few years, I want to say is 11 sacks. So they don't really necessarily have a system that really implores the defensive line to really get after the quarterback. They want a disruptive guy, which at times Kayvon Thibodeau has been disruptive, but he hasn't been game-changing enough, in my opinion, to really change games.
Yeah,
absolutely. 100%. It's just too bad. And we'll just have to see where everything lies, I guess. And it's going to be a long time, but what's great about football is you really watch the whole league for the most part. So I'll be fine. But New York sports, we have the Knicks essentially to look forward to. NHL started tonight, though. I like the Rangers, but they need to have their young players step up too. So why don't we talk about, though, a franchise that deserves this embarrassment, and a fan base especially deserves this embarrassment. The New England Patriots, those spoiled brat fans are really getting it to them, and I stand by those comments. Talking to you, Brad. Anyways, they lose by a score of 34-0. How much did the Patriots lose by last week? That was 38-0.
Yeah, 38-3. They put up 3 points versus South.
Excuse me, 38-3.
Basically zero.
Exactly. But what is going on with the New England Patriots? Mac Jones is terrible again, and he gets benched for the second straight game in a row. No answers. It seems Bill is somebody who needs a reset as well. There is no talent on that roster at all. And Carr and the Saints take advantage in this get-right game for them. I mean, we talked about Bill Belichick last week. Very successful reel out of it. And what happens the next week? They play even worse. I mean, what do you do? And this, I guess if you want to talk about the injuries to Judon and Christian Gonzalez to help, but I mean, there is no answers whatsoever. And what was that?
Well, go ahead and finish, and I'll leap on this.
I was just saying, and you made the prediction that Zappy would get in the second half, took to the fourth quarter, but that's exactly what happened. And the New England Patriots in true disarray. And we've had some comments about, what we talked about, whether it's Bill's time to hang it up, especially in the argument, clearly, is it him or Brady? And at this moment, Bill Belichick is 26-29 in games without Brady in his entire career. So,
yep.
I mean, what else is there really to add from last week besides another example of a team just beating the crap out of them?
Well, No, I think you kind of alluded to all the points that I wanted to capitalize on. I think that this New England team, this is kind of the flashpoint where it's kind of the ugly rock bottom. I'm sure Robert Kraft has already had these conversations in his head from the press box about what he's going to do, about how he's going to peacefully exit this relationship with Belichick and ask him to, hang it up. But again, I made 3 predictions last week. I said Zabby was going to get in this game. Belichick's going to have his days numbered, and which we'll get to later, which is Lamar is not worth his contract. And I was 3 for 3. So, so I think that you're going to see more of this ugly truth unfold throughout the season. Clearly, it's not Bill O'Brien. Clearly, it's not just Mac Jones. I think this is an all-around team effort in terms of a lack of personnel and a lack of execution. And I just think that Bill's is not up with the times. That's not even just like, a kind of a young throwaway like line. I think genuinely he's just not adapted to the new NFL and putting wrinkles in this offense and getting personnel. And I mean, you look at the way other organizations, like they stand by their quarterback, and when they draft them, when Cincinnati drafted Burrow, they went after Jamar Chase because they knew they had a relationship back in college. It's things like that. It's not necessarily cronyism. It's like you want to cultivate, a player's locker room. And I just don't think that once Brady walked out that door, I think you started to see some of that facade crumble. And definitely not having Judon help didn't help. He's the leader of that defense as far as I can tell. But that shouldn't stop you from giving up 34 points. Like, I'm sorry. Like, it's just it's going to be a long season for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely going to be a long season for the Patriots. I agree with most of what you said. Besides a couple things about Belichick I'll get into. The one thing I will say is they got to get back to the Patriot way. The Patriot way, do your job. All 11 men just do their job. They got to get back to that. They're in the same situation as the Giants. I know Hayden mentioned it in the last game, but the Patriots and the Giants are 2 franchises that need to just start over. Like, figure it out, start over, rebuild, just go into full tank mode. I will say I think this is way beyond the Belichick issue. Maybe that's just my love for Belichick, but I just don't think this is a Belichick problem, in my opinion. I think it's time for him to part ways after the end of the year. I think it's time for a mutual both teams getting away from one another, or both parties getting away from one another. But I do not think any single coach that gets put with this team in this current roster, I think, is in the same situation as Bill Belichick.
I mean, I'm going to go off that. You talk a little bit about it's not a Bill Belichick issue. It is, because he's the de facto GM. He has not done a good job drafting offensive players on the side of the ball since 2013. They've only had 2 All-Pros since 2013. He's done a horrifically bad job on the offensive side of the ball. Horrific. Like, terrible. And you talk about the Patriot way. Well, you can't do the Patriot way. You could say all things about this mantras and all this BS, but like when you don't have guys like Rob Gronk, Julian Edelman, like even Randy Moss, when you don't have those impact players on offense, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what types of ways you have. They just don't have the manpower on offense, and that is a 100% a Bill Belichick problem because he's been the GM for that long, and he's just done a terrible job on the offensive side of the ball. So if you're keep him as head coach, you either have to delegate duties to offensive scouting department and revamp the whole offensive system, or get a new person to be the GM, because he can't do both anymore. He's done a fucking, excuse my language, I don't want to say that word. He's done a horrific job drafting offensive skill players, and the guy can still coach defense. They've had great players. They still have Kyle Duggar. They have Matthew Judon. They drafted Gonzalez. The defense, in my opinion, they have some players, but they can't really be supported due to the fact that they have an offense with really just no impact players whatsoever, like 0. Like even less than the Giants, even less than Dan Waller. Dan Waller would be an impact player on the Patriots, and you have like Max Ryan said, pea shooter Mac Jones throwing the football. So it's an overall mix, but he can't continue to be both the GM and coach anymore now. This should be his last year as doing both, because unless they start to improve on offense and he selects better, that's the only way the team's going to improve.
But I want to push back on what Nico said. Like, how can you restore the Patriot way if you don't have the ultimate Patriot, which is Tom Brady?
I think it's more of an organization thing. I think you got to get a like you can't get a Tom Brady in the locker room, but you just got to get what Hayden said too. You got to get guys that can show you life, in an organization that have potential to be great, that have potential to be good. And everything that they have there in New England right now, it's not it. It's not
Yeah,
it.
no, it's all a talent thing for me. The Patriot thing is not going to work unless you have great players, and they don't have great players right now. Like they have a crap roster. The roster's terrible, and that's mainly due to the fact that Belichick did not do a good job drafting. He hasn't done a good job drafting in years.
Oh, he's been terrible.
He's been terrible, and they need someone else to look at the offensive side of the ball and completely revamp it. Because Belichick, in my opinion, is not an offensive guy. He's a defensive guy. I'm kind of like he's not quite as much the defensive specialist like Rex Ryan, but these are guys that need someone. They need a different offensive mind, in my opinion.
And Mac Jones got a noodle arm. I mean, that guy. Why do they really need to stop thinking that he's the guy? He clearly isn't. He's a dirty player.
Yeah, I mean, when he had McDaniels, I mean, nobody could work with 3 different coordinators. Like he's had McDaniels, he's had the 2 coordinators set with Judge and Patricia. Now he has Bill Bryan. I mean, he's had a lot of chaos too, Mac Jones, and he was a Pro Bowler in his first year.
Never is, man. Never is. All right, guys. I'm gonna take a. Guys, hear me?
Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
See, Mac Jones always messing everything up, no matter what, including the internet stream here. All right, why don't we continue on with the Steelers and the Ravens? Nice. This was a fun game to watch. So, Ravens made mistakes at the end.
No.
Major mistakes. Plus, their receivers had a hard time making catches. I mean, we saw TJ Watt straight up punch Zay Flowers in the face. Now, he was going for the ball, to be fair, but he just missed bad. But anyways, Pickett's on a 41-yard walk-off touchdown was a lot of fun to see. Matt Canada didn't seem too happy because many people think that Kenny Pickett audibled the play. And now the season looks a lot different for the Steelers. So what stuck out more? The Steelers getting this win or the mistakes made by the Ravens?
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, you can go, Alex.
Oh no, my take's short and sweet. I feel like I have nothing to say since Lamar did it for me. So, no, I thought this was we knew this was going to be a rivalry game coming in this week. Despite how these iterations of the two teams look in 2023, but I thought that this was just ineptitude on the Ravens' part. A lot of mistakes, a lot of costly mistakes up and down the offensive line, up and down the board. And, Pickett and Pittsburgh did just enough to win the game. I thought, on paper, they kind of played to a draw when you really look at the numbers, but it was just too costly plays from Baltimore. I thought Matt Canada, he still looks incompetent on an offensive perspective, but it seems like they're starting to kind of get their feet underneath them. They hung in there with Najee had a great game. They hung in there with on the ground game, didn't abandon the run, and at the end of the day, it just proves my point that I don't think this Baltimore team is good enough to even make the playoffs. Quite frankly, I think that right now through 5 weeks they've kind of had a favorable schedule, but as the year progresses, I think Lamar is going to start to really show himself. He's going to show his true colors. So,
my only question do you think if I think there was a total of 5 drops, would it have made a difference in how you feel if they made those catches?
Oh, they were terrible. Their receivers versus the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
I agree that if they made those 5 catches, it would have changed the complexion of the end of the game, but it doesn't change. It still doesn't prove or change my opinion on what my assessment is on Lamar in the full picture.
I hear that. And about the Kenny Pickett, probably audibling the play, Matt Canada. getting booed throughout the game for some of his play calling. What do we think about the Steelers' weird dynamic in their relationship between their offense and their offensive coordinator?
I mean, for like what the Steelers do, like they come up with a big play whenever is needed, and that's what good teams do. Yes, it's been ugly, but I think they're actually going to use the fire Matt Canada thing as like a rallying cry for the team. Like everyone wants us to do this, everyone wants us to do that, and yet like the team is still 3-2. Like they haven't won pretty games. The offense has been pretty. I don't want to say incompetent because it's made the plays when it has to, and Kenny Pickett's only thrown 2 interceptions. So the offense has been brutal, but that being said, like this is still a 3-2 team, and they're winning on defense, and they're going to be in every game. They're going to slog it through. So, I mean, you just see like a Mike Tomlin coach team, like they find ways to win. Never looks pretty, but that's just what Mike Tomlin does. So,
Yep.
All right, why don't we get into the Green Bay Packers and the Oakland Raiders? All right, Jordan Love really struggled bad in this game. Major turnovers throughout. And the Raiders took advantage. And I will say we have another ref complaint that could have changed the complexion of this game, and that's the 60-plus yard reception from Jordan Love to Christian Watson. And then we had a Marcus Peters horse collar that wasn't called, but it could have changed everything. But besides that, the Raiders did make plays when they needed to. They created pressure for Jordan Love, and a solid win, even though there was, of course, questionable play calls from Josh McDaniels, even to a play where Mark Davis called him an asshole. Pretty funny stuff, but another risky coach gets away from his mistakes, saved by the defense again. Let's go to the Raiders fan first, and we know Nico had some words to say regarding this.
Yeah. Well, this is the first time I've seen the Raiders defense actually show up for work. I was genuinely surprised. I didn't know half their names. Haven't seen them in 5 weeks, so that was pleasant. But me Robinson with the picks, Spillane had the game of his life. Crosby was just all over the field like he normally is. I still think that pound for pound, he's arguably top 3 pass rusher in the league still. Doesn't get really appreciated because of we're not like a destination and we don't have like this splashy team on defense. But I think like he on any given Sunday is arguably one of the best defensive players in the league. So I want to just give him a big shout out. But I'll just be real. We can shit on Jordan Love. He's a young quarterback. He's made mistakes at crucial times. But Josh McDaniels, I continue to repeatedly say it. He has a magnetism for losing. Like they had no business even keeping this game close, and he just left this offense and this game, this team in every opportunity to blow this game. Whether it's the play calling, the defensive mechanisms for reading the offense. It just seems like every game, even when they should be putting the game away, whether it's the play calling or it's the clock management, it just seems like they have an appetite for losing, and it's kind of unfathomable to me because they have all the players and the game changers on paper. They just don't seem to be desire to put it together, and I just can't understand it for the life of me.
I'll talk a little bit about this. It's I'm not gonna say too much about Jordan Love. Jordan Love's still a young quarterback developing. You're gonna have games like that. In his first year, Peyton Manning threw 30 interceptions. Troy Aikman went 1-15. So you're gonna have games like that as a quarterback, and you gotta go through it. I think Jordan Love has shown you enough that you should be excited about what you've seen for the first 5 games. He's been he's had some good strides. That being said, I don't think what people are talking about is that combination of Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers actually could be pretty lethal through the air. Jacoby Myers has been very good actually so far. I'm not talking about I have him fantasy football actually.
The Patriots traded him away.
19 points a week, and he actually helped me win the week. But Jacoby Myers actually through the air has been actually a very, very pleasant surprise. One of the most underrated offseason additions all season. And if you combine him with Jimmy G and Devontae Adams once they start getting him going and Josh Jacobs, it could be a pretty decent offense actually moving forward. So that's actually a pretty interesting story. I do think they have to shore up their defense a little bit. They have some impact players, Marcus Peters and Max Crosby, but I think they need to kind of gel as a unit a little bit better. But yeah, I mean, like I said, a win is a win in the NFL. You'll take them when you can get them. I think Las Vegas is a little bit of a team that I think needs work. But that being said, they play the Patriots and they play the Bears next 2 weeks. Those are two winnable games. Let's say you win two of those games, and you get to 4-3, and then you have games coming up versus the Giants and the Jets. Those are also winnable games, and the Vikings too. So the schedule is looking pretty favorable. That being said, they still got to win these games. And then we'll see. It's a team that actually could win some games down the stretch due to the schedule. That could be in it. And like I said, I would really exploit that 1-2 combo punch with Jacoby Myers and Devontae Adams. Jacoby Myers has been really great and one of the most underrated additions of the offseason, which people haven't talked about. So, like I said, just continue to exploit that, run the ball a little bit. Hopefully you can get after the quarterback with Max Crosby and your pass rush. And this could be a team that could win some games moving forward. It's not going to be pretty, with Josh McDaniels as your coach. It's never going to be pretty, like
Certainly.
Alex talked about. But that being said, they could win some games. So you have a little bit of hope moving forward towards the middle of the season. And so don't give up the ship just yet, Alex.
Well, we do have 2 buys against Denver every year moving forward, which is a big bonus. If we lose to New England, I probably will not be back on the show. But until then, it's been nice seeing you guys.
Yeah, and a couple things I'll say is I do think this Raiders team could be sneaky. I like Hayden mentioned, Jacoby Myers has been arguably one of the best offseason pickups out of any team so far that has really showed us. I really think Jacoby Myers is a great weapon, great 1-2 punch combo that they have. But the one thing I will say, I think this team is maybe good to sneak in, maybe get a 7 seed or something like that, and that's about it. We'll lose an opening game. I don't think this team is there yet.
No,
They're
not quite there yet, but
yeah, I agree. They have the tools like Myers, Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs, Crosby. Like you have tools that could get you to where you need to be. They're just not there yet. But the one comment I don't want to make, and don't want to offend you, Alex, but we saw this team in prime time 2 out of the past 5 weeks. That we saw them too many times already in prime time. Let's let this team go back to like a 4
I'm with you on that. But you get to see the New York Jets in prime time more, so that should be an even better treat.
Well, you had to think you had Rodgers. It would have been great to see the Jets. I still like the Jets team. I don't mind seeing them. I'd rather see them than the Raiders.
Well, they play a little bit.
Yeah, but I looked again, and I just really think Jordan Love is someone that I think is I know Hayden mentioned it, to be excited about in Green Bay. He's young. You're gonna have games like this. It's his first. He's not a rookie, but it's basically his rookie season. And you're gonna have games like this. This is gonna happen where a lot of it might be better. You're gonna learn a lot from this than if you were to go out and put up 4 touchdowns, 300 yards. Obviously, that's what you want to do every week, but you'll learn from games like this, losing games like this. When you had the ball, you were able to do a lot, but not enough.
Nope, but regardless, maybe there is some life for the Raiders, and we'll see how this all unfolds. So why don't we now go to Thursday night, but also agree with you, Nico. Too many primetime games for the Raiders for some reason. But first of all, Dick Butkus passed away on Thursday. May we say rest in peace to one of the true legends and pioneers of the National Football League. On that night that he left the world, the Bears happened to play. They took care of business. The Bears got their first win in over a year with a great game by Justin Fields and a career game for DJ Moore. The Commanders were having trouble protecting Howell, needed to fix those issues. And but ultimately the Bears won the game by a score of 40-20. Does Ron Rivera seem out of it on that? Like, what's up with the Commanders? Because they do have a pretty talented roster. But I don't know. It seems that there's some miscommunications going on with the Commanders. Why don't we talk about the Commanders first here about this loss? Is this a real concerning one?
Absolutely. Yeah. This is the definition of a concerning loss. you let Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears hang a 40-piece on you. This
At
is
home?
red flags everywhere. It can't happen, especially for a team that we saw through the first couple of weeks has been in games and shown some potential. This was just embarrassing, an absolute embarrassment. But hey, with that being said, hats off to the Bears. Big win, Justin Fields getting some swagger, getting some confidence back, like you said, Ohio State. I'm rooting for him. I hope they can build on this and hope that team could just keep improving week after week. But damn, man, Washington's definitely 100% time to panic. How does that happen? 40 bomb to the Bears. How?
Yeah, it's hard to take them seriously as a winning team if you're literally going to give up their first win in Chicago on your home field. I mean, that's just embarrassing. And 40 points no less. It seemed like they couldn't protect Howell all night. You saw that Chicago got home 5 times for the night. They won time of possession. They had a lot of good things going with them on offense. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Justin Fields, but in recent episodes past, I've definitely stuck up for him. I thought they haven't been able to surround him with personnel, but you can't let him dominate a game like this if you're Washington, especially as Ron Rivera being, a defensive-minded guy in Carolina, having the history behind him going to the Super Bowl. It's just unacceptable. And, giving 7 yards play, like he made DJ Moore look like Devontae Adams last night, and it's just it's just unbelievable. We talked about kind of like the early narrative that goes on with the first quarter of the season where bad teams masquerade as good teams and vice versa. I think this is one of those classic cases where Washington, they may hang around for the rest of the year because the NFC is very weak and very thin, but I don't think they're a real serious team the way we thought they may have been early on in the year.
I mean, I'll kind of add a little bit about the Commanders. A little bit. They're another team that just cannot protect the quarterback. They're asking Sam Howell to do too much, and actually through the season, Sam Howell actually has the 6th most passing yards in the league. So I actually think Sam Howell, all things considered, has played pretty good. I think he's actually showing some signs that this guy could be the franchise guy moving forward. He's actually been pretty good, which is a good sign for them moving forward. That being said, like their defense had a complete meltdown versus Justin Fields, which was shocking, but it's also nice to see Justin Fields play well and finally mature a little bit as a passer. He's played very well in the last 2 weeks, which is nice. He has 11 touchdown passes, low key, which is close to the NFL lead, which is very surprising based off those 2 weeks. Like I said, I think this game is more about Justin Fields. Like there are a lot of teams right now in the NFL that would be clamoring to have Justin Fields. Like I'm telling you right now, Jets are a playoff team with Justin Fields, 100%. With his athleticism, the Jets will be a playoff team. There's actually plenty of teams that I would actually like to have Justin Fields playing. I think New England would be better with Justin Fields, personally. Atlanta probably would be a primetime destination with Justin Fields. You could probably even say that the Arizona Cardinals too would probably be a playoff team with Justin Fields. So there are plenty of teams that actually be clamoring for Justin Fields with his athleticism. I've been very critical of Justin Fields in the past, but that being said, the player himself, I think, is a pretty athletic player. So I think this shows more that Justin Fields can be that guy. And I actually think Washington's gonna have a hard time this year. But it's just a couple of my insights in the game.
All right, why don't we continue with another London game? The Bills went to London to go up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And what happened? The Jacksonville Jaguars run game had one hell of a performance. And they competed heavy with the Bills. And the Bills keep losing key players on defense. And they have a tough second loss, going 3-2 going into this year, going into the next week. So what do we get out of this one? More of a solid win for Jacksonville or a loss for the Bills that may be crucial down the line?
I thought, it was a little bit of both. I think a huge win for Jacksonville, shout out to them for being resilient, coming back. I thought they were dead in the water a few weeks ago. So this is a really nice pickup for a win, especially, technically on the road. I mean, I know it was more like a neutral field, but they really won multiple phases of this game, dominated the ground game, controlled, time of possession, and won out in the big picture. I mean, they were critical on third down. They did a lot of the right things. And it is sad because Buffalo did play one hell of a defensive game, but they just got too injured, too banged up. I think that this was a game where Buffalo was so psyched for kind of a revenge game, a matchup with Miami a week ago, that they kind of lost sight and kind of put their guard down this week, and they looked a little complacent. So I'm not going to blame everything on the travel going overseas, because Jacksonville had to do the same thing. But I think that Buffalo just got a little too ahead of their skis and lost sight of the goal, which is, winning the marathon and not the sprint. And I think that they got really amped up for that Miami game and kind of let it kind of get to their head. So they just got to regroup, get back to basics, continue to run that football. And for Jacksonville, just continue to plug along and continue to keep building inertia as the season progresses too.
Yeah.
Sorry. You can go. No, you can go. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I will say, I don't think it's necessarily a concerning loss for Buffalo. I do think Jacksonville is very underrated and don't get enough credit as they deserve. Especially that run game, I think, is very underrated. Especially showing it this week. ETN, great game. But the one thing that I would be more concerned of anything is, like, the yards are there, the production's there from Josh Allen, the production's there from Stephon Diggs right now, and you're just not getting the ball in the end zone, and you're not winning games. I don't want to sit here and say you have to panic on Buffalo. I still think you're arguably one of the best teams in the AFC, but you got to figure out to win a game like this. Josh Allen threw for 350 plus, I believe, 200-yard receivers. But at the end of the day, your leading rusher at 14 yards rushing. You got to develop some type of run game in order to compete. Yes, this is the pass first league. You have to develop some type of run game in order to compete in this game, in this league.
They've been saying that for years, and it's still taking a long time.
I'll add a little bit about this game. I thought it was a little bit unfair, actually, that the Jacksonville Jaguars got to stay in London twice. Actually, that they didn't necessarily have to deal with that travel. They got to stay in London for an extra week, whereas the Buffalo Bills had to travel all the way there. That's kind of an extreme advantage for Jacksonville, in my opinion. Jacksonville's almost like they're almost going to be playing in London as like their second home, because they're going to try to expand them and maybe try to do an experiment where they'll have like 3 or 4 games there a year, which is, interesting, but completely ridiculous that they got to be in London back-to-back weeks where they didn't necessarily have to travel. They could stay in London, whereas the other team had to. That's just putting it on the NFL. I thought that was completely ridiculous logistically, that one team got to stay there and another team had to go. Right. But just in terms of the game, not really much you could say. Buffalo's really starting to lose a lot of their defensive players. They lost Matt Milano. Tre'Davious White got hurt, so I think they're going to be tested defensively. So it's interesting. I mean, next week they get the Giants, so I'm not gonna pencil in a win in the NFL, because it's still the NFL and teams are really, really good each and every week. But you got the Bills, you got the Giants, and you got the Patriots next week. Those are games, if you're Buffalo, like, you need to win both those games if you're an elite team. The schedule kind of softens. You get the Bills, the Patriots. Not the Bills. You get the Patriots, the Giants, the Bengals with Burrow kind of hobbled, and then you get the Broncos. So should have a good stretch coming up. But I think they'll get back to their winning ways. That being said, this is a team that can move the ball, but they got to get the running game going, like Nico said, and they're gonna struggle a little bit defensively. So we'll see. We will see.
All right, the Indianapolis Colts got Jonathan Taylor back. They signed him to an extension, and he will be there for the long term at the moment. Despite that, Anthony Richardson and Zach Moss took care of business, and they get a big win over the Tennessee Titans, despite Anthony Richardson getting hurt once again. They held it down. The Titans fought, but came up short. A crucial Tannehill interception cost them. So what do we get out of this one game between the Colts and the Titans?
Credit Indianapolis for still being able to win with Gardner Minshew. They've actually won multiple games this season with Gardner Minshew playing majority of the game. They beat the Baltimore Ravens, and then they just beat the Tennessee Titans. So a lot of credit to them. That's a team that's quietly 3-2. With Jonathan Taylor back, they're really running the ball. They've really kind of surprised me in that how they've actually been able to win a lot of these games. I'm looking at the offensive roster. I personally don't see that many great offensive players on the team. You could say I like Michael Pittman for the Indianapolis Colts. I like Jonathan Taylor. With Gardner Minshew, they can move the ball a little bit. So, but credit to them also for getting a very quality backup in regards to Anthony Richardson. A lot of teams don't do that. So very, very, very kudos to them. That being said, they could be the surprise team this year, because every year there is a surprise team that shocks her. Last year was the Giants and Seahawks. No reason it can't be the Colts this year. They got some good players. I like the way they're competing. Interesting story on them. We'll expand upon that a little bit. But yeah, what are you guys' thoughts on that? They've really kind of impressed me so far, the Indianapolis Colts. And Zach Moss has really run the ball. So yeah,
Yeah, I completely agree. I definitely think that the Colts have very much impressed me so far early on in the season. But to me, it just shows to tell. It doesn't matter if it's Jonathan Taylor running, if it's Zach Moss running, if it's Tutu Atwell running the ball, or somehow plays running back. But I don't think it really matters. I think you're going to get your yards with this offensive line in this team. I really do think a team that can run the ball, control the tempo, and not necessarily turn the ball over, like we always say, is going to win games. But if they can keep this ground attack, and now with Taylor coming back, now with Taylor having a full week of practice, full 2 weeks of practice, getting back in shape, getting to where he needs to be, this is a team that I think is going to continue running the ball and continue to run all over teams, and think they will do have a chance, even to win that division. That division is going to be an interesting race come November, come December.
They should grab a wide receiver, though, in my opinion. Or they should at least look to grab one.
No, I agree.
They're definitely in position, and if they could grab one, they could definitely be in the race this year.
100%. I think they do need to get a secondary.
Either with Richardson or Minshew, they'll be totally fine.
They need someone. They need another playmaking talent at the receiving position.
And I know this is just how bureaucracy goes, but it's funny how Jim Irsay was literally publicly scolding Jonathan Taylor. Then after they get the extension, oh, he's great and we love him, kumbaya, yada yada yada.
Same guy who got a Dewey multiple times. I know. So I think I'm going to push back. I slightly disagree about the end assessment on the Colts. I think that they played a great game against a bad team. I think that Tennessee is not really what.
We don't be that, definitely.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of that aspect to this, but I do agree that Colts, in terms of rebuild mode, are very ahead of schedule. I'm not saying it was a full rebuild, but definitely around with Indianapolis. With the transition of with Richardson and some of the pieces on that offensive side of the ball. Great to see Jonathan Taylor back. That's a huge game changer for them, getting him back in the fold. But I don't necessarily agree that at the end of the year they're going to be in contention. I do agree that the AFC South is kind of what I anticipated the AFC North to be this year, which would be like the more exciting, hot division. And I think there's a lot of teams that can really play in this division. I just don't know what their ceiling is right now. I don't feel comfortable in saying that it's the playoffs yet per se, but they could be there right at the end of the year being in contention, which is really exciting because I think there's something really fun about this team on offense when you watch them, and it seems like they really play hard for each other. So,
no doubt about it. Let's keep it going, boys. We had the Falcons and the Texans go back to back. Seems like Ritter had a bounce back game. But shouts to C.J. Stroud and the Texans for competing on both on offense with the late game touchdown, but weren't able to convert. And then a crucial takeaway for the defense, but it just seemed that the Texans ran out of time, really. So one thing there I get that at least Desmond Ritter, similarly to Zach Wilson, but not with such a microscope on him, played a much better game. At least if he could continue to play this way, again, reckon this is against a weaker opponent, you could at least ride it out for the rest of the year. Again, we know how deep the playoff class, the quarterback class is if they were to take a new option there. But again, with just the Texans, we're seeing a team getting much better, a franchise that was a real mess 5 years ago, especially when Watson left. And it seems that they're improving each week, and we can appreciate that. So moving forward on this, are you as confident in me in thinking that Ritter at least can be competent moving forward?
Yeah, I personally definitely think he could be. They did something that they finally did. They got the ball to their playmakers. Everyone's talking about Kyle Pitts, Drake London, or all these next big things for the Falcons. Well, you don't get them the ball, they don't even get open. But this game, you were able to see Ritter give them the ball, them get open, and make some plays. If you continue to do so, just get the ball in the hands of the people that are going to make plays. You're going to win games. It's successful football. So I do think he could improve if they just basically do what they just did on Sunday. They got both of them involved. They both are the number one and number two receivers, as they should be on paper and as they should be every week going on in each week in and out. But I do also want to say, I agree with what you just said, Matt. I think Houston did just run out of time in this game. Another impressive performance for Stroud, just doing what he has to, like nothing too crazy over the top, but he's doing what he has to do to win games. Unfortunately, they fell short, but I do think these will both be two teams that will have success going forward. Last week I went on a big rant how I thought the Falcons were one of the most overrated teams, and everyone was giving them slack. And I still believe that because you weren't getting. And my whole take was you weren't giving the ball to the correct people. Now that they did that this week, hope they continue to do so. And we'll see what can happen going forward.
Yep.
Booyah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I still think that the Falcons team has real potential in this division and NFC. But I think we were like prematurely crowning Houston and that defense from what we saw against Pittsburgh as being better than we thought. I think they kind of came back to earth this week. I don't know how you give up 450 yards to a rookie QB. But I think that I saw a lot of things I liked from Desmond Ritter. They're continuing to improve. I like the fact that Kyle Pitts finally had a bounce back game. We were kind of wondering where the fuck he went for a few weeks now, and it was just kind of one of those grinded out games, a little messy, a little sloppy, but it was an exciting game, and they pulled it out.
Getting off that, I still don't believe that Desmond Ritter necessarily is that guy. He had that coming out performance, 329 yards, 1 TD, and no picks. Good performance on his part. What I think we really should be talking about is just how dominant CJ Stroud is. Put you in position to win that game at the end. If your defense makes a stop, CJ Stroud has been unbelievable. He's completing 60% of his passes. He's got over 1,500 yards, which is third most in the league right now. And he's a rookie. Just keep that in mind. 7 TDs, no interceptions, passer rating of almost 100. He's been should be the offensive rookie of the year. If not for Puka Nacua, who's been an aberration for the Rams, but he's been absolutely tremendous. I think this is more about two quarterbacks who have been growing at exponentially great growths, and this Houston Texans team has got a quarterback that should be the quarterback for the future and quarterback for many years. So you got to be really, really excited about what you keep seeing each and every week.
And do you think I'm just moving one thing for my cat. So, and leave me in this dark moment. Don't worry, I'll be right back with it. But to start on this point, though, the Lions played the Panthers this week, and they destroyed them. They just kicked them to the ground. And without two of their best offensive players in St. Brown and Jahmyr Gibbs, the Lions still had a hell of a game on offense and beat down the rebuilding Panthers. Talk to me about the Lions and just eating teams up. I mean, we know the Panthers are rebuilding, so not much to really harp on there. But the Lions, if they could keep playing this way, they might make somewhat of a run, don't you think?
Yeah, no, definitely. I personally, right now, I think the Detroit Lions are actually the most physical team in the NFC. San Francisco and Philadelphia included. I think the Detroit Lions are the most physical team in the NFC. Just in terms of how they hit you and really come after you. Aiden Hutchinson's a beast. Hopefully, they can utilize Jahmyr Gibbs a little bit better. Jared Goff is coming into his own. They got a great tight end, actually. It's Sam Laporta out of Iowa. Seems like Iowa has a penchant for developing great tight ends. George Kittle, Noah Fant, and now Sam Laporta. So they've definitely done a great job with tight ends at the University of Iowa. So credit to them. And yeah, this Detroit team just comes after you. They hit you like crazy. They also have David Montgomery too. So they got a lot of pieces there. They're not a team to be messed around with at all. And I think if you're San Francisco, you should be absolutely terrified of playing them because they're going to come after you, hit you in the mouth in a way which San Francisco, I believe, hasn't seen all year. So I think this is all about Detroit. Carolina, not really much to say about them. They're rebuilding. They still have a rookie quarterback in Bryce Young, and they have just no pieces on offense right now. They have to they're another team that has to revamp their offense, and they have to accommodate their rookie quarterback. So not really much to say in Carolina. I think this is all about Detroit.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I think I'm just continually more and more impressed with Detroit and how they've been able to improve with this team week after week. I thought Jared Goff played a pretty, conservative game. Didn't have to do too much. 20 of 28 for 236 yards, 3 touchdowns. And then Montgomery, like Hayden alluded to, had a great game on the ground as well. This team it has an edge to it. It has like a full force.
They got that damn Campbell factor, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. No, they
have his personality that
all lead top down, and they show up every week. It feels like whenever they win, whenever they play, they have something to prove. And this was just another one of those statement games.
Although I will say that game versus Tampa Bay next week could be a low key. It's gonna be a really good game actually. Like I think they should consider flexing that game actually.
I think it's a trap. It's a trap.
Yeah, no, Tampa Bay actually is looking really good. They have another quarterback who's got that similar kind of moxie that Dan Campbell has, and a defensive-minded head coach in Todd Bowles. So, I mean, it's going to be a pretty good game. I've been very impressed with what I saw from Tampa, too. So, that could be potentially one of the best games of the week next week, Tampa and Detroit.
Mm-hmm. I love Detroit.
Yeah, no, I definitely do think so. I think this Lions team is scary. I think they definitely, like Hayden said, are the most physical team in the league. Not just the NFC. I think it's the league overall. That the Detroit Lions are. Love the way Dan Campbell coaches. Love his moxie. Love his swagger. He's a guy that you want to play for.
Yeah, I was just gonna add that. Yeah, definitely.
He's like, he makes me want to run through a wall. I think I said it last week.
No, definitely. I'm with you on that with Dan Campbell.
100%. Yeah, I love him. And the Panthers, another team that's just gonna have to figure it out. They're gonna have to keep doing what they got to do, and hopefully things will start clicking down there in Carolina.
And there's a good chance they will for sure. All right, we have another game to talk about when it comes to the Cincinnati Bengals and the Arizona Cardinals, where the Bengals took the game by a score of 34-20. Joe Burrow has a big bounce back game. Boy, imagine if the Bengals were 1-4. Not this time. And arguably a great game from him saves the season. Jamar Chase was open. He got the ball, 3 touchdowns. And again, tough break for Arizona. But again, we know that they're rebuilding. But are we convinced after this game in particular that the Bengals are going to be okay? Or is just them again beating up a bad team? I think obviously that the Bengals are going to be all right. They had a slow start last year and made a run. And this is just good for even if it's just for confidence sake, they were able to take advantage of the opportunity.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about this game. No, so you can go, Nico. Sorry.
No, sure. You're good. You're good.
I'll talk a little bit about this game. It's good to see Joe Burrow's back to health, a little bit playing like his old former self. Nice to see they beat up on an Arizona team. Next 3 weeks is going to really show what they're really made of. You got Seattle, Buffalo, and hold on, I want to say I just saw the schedule before. Seattle and Buffalo at least 2 of the next 3 weeks, and then you also have I want to say believe you have San Francisco. So you got 3 really good teams coming up. So that's really going to test what they're made of. If Joe Burrow's really back. So yeah, definitely nice to see that Joe Burrow returning back to his MVP form. It's definitely been a slow start, and his leg has been hurting him. So just good to see him back, and Jamar Chase getting the ball.
Absolutely. It's definitely they did exactly what they had to do versus Arizona team. Like Hayden mentioned, it was just good to see him, Jamar Chase, clicking, being on the same page. This team, though, they did have a slow start last year, as you said. They get hot at the right time. This team starts playing their best football at the right time, and they did exactly what they had to do. They put it on Arizona, they balled out, and this is what this team needed. It's a little confidence going further. No T. Higgins in this game either. Really makes you think, okay, now everyone's focusing on Jamar Chase, and then Jamar Chase is a performance like that. So it just shows you that they are just arguably the most talented team in the AFC all around when it comes to running back, receivers, quarterback. And I just think Cincinnati turns it on from here on out, and they're going to be the Cincinnati that we're used to.
I hope so, because I I don't want to be embarrassed about my AFC prediction pick. But it'll be very interesting to see how they bounce back at home against Buffalo, how they handle the Bills. But I'm also looking ahead at the December 4th game in Jacksonville. I think that's going to be a tough test on the road. I mean, obviously, it's going to be tough with Seattle and San Fran, of course, but I think that just looking at the AFC, especially later in the year, it'll be an interesting barometer to see where these two teams are at. We may start seeing these teams moving forward in the playoffs, but I like seeing a resounding win to give me a little more confidence about this team moving forward in a game like Arizona. They're beating up on a young team that you're supposed to win, and that's what great teams do.
That's exactly it at the end of the day. Am I right? Now, this was a very interesting game I was very excited for. And the Eagles and the Rams, where the Eagles won by a score of 23-14. The Rams played the Eagles tough. They really did, but ultimately the Eagles took the victory. Cooper Kupp making a return for 8 catches and 118 yards. And people feeling as the weeks go by that the Eagles, though obviously a very top team in the NFC, there are ways they can beat them, whether, if you beat them in their secondary on defense, or if you're able to contain them. Some interesting stuff there. And the Rams, I think they'll be a team fighting throughout the rest of the season. And if Puka and Kupp become a lethal 1-2 combination with Matt Stafford, who has been playing solid this year. Don't forget, by the way, he is the quarterback on the Netflix doc, so make sure you remember where you were during all these moments. But interesting game for sure. And who knows, if a few plays went another way, maybe the Eagles had their first loss of the season.
Yeah. No, I thought this was kind of the game of the week for me. Because I wanted to see how good this LA Rams team was. Unfortunately, I didn't like what I saw coming out of that half. I thought that the second half adjustments from Sirianni and their coaching staff, they definitely took the Rams out of the game. They shut them down. They were excellent, very efficient on third down and with that offense. But I think this was really about the defense for Philadelphia and showing how that they're really, a three-dimensional monster. Yeah, they could lose any week. But I thought that this was, in a weird way, a statement game, a tale of two halves, really. I think it was really just a tale of two halves. And I thought this was very telling for both teams about where my assessment is on both Philly and the Rams.
I mean, great teams win in close games, and Philly has proven time and time again they can win the close game versus any team in the league. I think you got to give them a lot of credit for that. And I mean, the top two teams, I think it's very hard for me to say because based on paper, the top two teams are definitely Philly and San Francisco. But Detroit, in my opinion, is that sleeper team. I think is going to disrupt the flow in the NFC. But that being said, you still have to have the two favorites as San Francisco and Philly moving forward until someone punches them in the mouth, really. Which I think next week actually versus the Jets. I think they're going to get a rude awakening actually at home versus the Jets. I do actually. I think the Jets are going to push them around a little bit. I don't necessarily think the Jets going to win the game per se, but I think that's going to be a lot closer of a game than people anticipate. So, yeah, definitely. Like I said, I'm Philly's a former Super Bowl champ. They won one recently, 2017 with Foles, got back to one last year with Hurts, and they're going to be right in the mix this year. There's absolutely nothing to say that they won't be a team that's going to be contending for a Super Bowl. So, I mean, credit to the Eagles. Not really much to say on the LA Rams part. They played a great team, kept it close, but at the end of the game, you're always judged how you finish games and wins, and they ultimately didn't get it done. So you are what your record says. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, and what Alex said too. This is one of the games I was really excited for this week. I was really excited. It was one of my matchups that I wanted to see on my big screen. I really wanted to enjoy this one. But I will say, with that being said, the Eagles are a great team. The Rams are a very surprising team that I think proved a lot in this game. Even though you lost, like Ian said, you kept it close against a team that just won the NFC last season. You're going to be in these matchups, and I think that was a big statement going forward. Same thing with the whole Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp came back. That first drive of that game was unbelievable. And any question mark you had about Cooper Kupp and his injury, your doubt went out. It was like he never left. And I was very happy to see Puka's connection still being there with Stafford. But one thing I did want to talk about that's a little off topic from the game, but it's a big topic in the NFL. I think that the people that want to ban the brotherly shove, the tush push, whatever you want to call it, are ridiculous. You got to figure out a way to stop it. I don't think a play like this should be illegal. I don't think any play should be illegal. I think it's just a great play. It's a great rugby play. Sirianni put it into this offense, and it's something that you got to stop. I don't think I'm seeing all these people saying you got to ban it. You got to make a rule change. Maybe to an extent, but I think there is a way to stop it, and you have to do it. Many teams are trying to implement it all over the NFL, and nobody has a success like this Eagles team. Maybe teams just need to hit the weight room more. I don't know. I just really think they really gotta.
I mean, every NFL team could do it. So maybe just teams have to get better at it.
Yeah, you're
Absolutely.
damn right, Nico. Anybody who's complaining about the tush push is a big tushy loser. Like, seriously, they're not breaking any rules. I know there have been some injuries regarding this, but it's an innovative play. And you know what people don't like? When I come up with something new and innovative, let's bring it down because I wasn't smart enough to come up with myself. I'm not an Eagles fan whatsoever, but I can respect the play calling they have with this Nick Sirianni. Great call. Don't ban it. There's literally nothing wrong with it.
Absolutely. It's just like I said, it's a big unit moving together. That's it. There's a body. It's just a wave coming. That's it.
Figure it out. If you want to be the man, you got to beat the man. Can't believe I'm defending the Eagles, but it's true. It is true. No reason to ban it. So the last game to discuss here is the Kansas City Chiefs and the Minnesota Vikings. It really seemed that the Chiefs were trying to make it as the Chiefs and the refs, the other person on the Chiefs roster, the refs. It is really amazing how many damn calls the Chiefs get in the Mahomes era from the refs. I have a very good friend who's a Chiefs fan. He will not accept the various evidence that shows that. And we saw it again here in this game. And he keeps rolling and rolling and rolling. But Chiefs played it close. Kelsey was shaken up for a bit after an ankle injury, but he was able to score a touchdown. I'm sure some people are happy to report that Taylor Swift wasn't there. And we haven't heard from them in a few days. So we will keep it that way. But yeah, it's just, it's seeing where the Vikings are going from here, especially Jefferson getting hurt in that game. And, I know it's still relatively early. It's about to be mid-October, but is it time for the Vikings to give up? We talked a little bit on trading Kirk Cousins, if that's an option. But before we hit on the Chiefs, what do the Vikings do from here after this game that they really could have won if things went a little differently?
Who wants it?
I think it. Yeah. I mean, I was very big on the Vikings this game. This was one of my favorite bets of the week as well. Was
Too.
taking the Vikings.
I was big on the Vikings too this week.
I really thought they were going to pull this one outright. I was very disappointed to see the result and see, especially Jefferson going down, going to the IR. But one thing to me, and I never would say anything bad about an injury or anything like that. But when's the last time we really saw a hamstring injury like this at this point in the season place you on the IR? I'm not saying that the injury is not severe or anything like that, but I do think missing the next 4 games for a hamstring, I can see it if it's that bad, but usually you keep you on the roster, maybe you sit out a week or two, but you do everything in your power to try to get back. To me, right there, that's the Minnesota Vikings saying, you know what? It's not our year. We gotta figure it out. That's what that said to me. Again, I'm not saying that it's not a serious injury, like, because obviously hamstring can be terrible, but I just really think by putting him on the IR sends a message to the rest of that locker room. Again, I don't want to keep iterating like I'm making fun of the injury. It's not. It's a serious injury, but you got to do everything in your power for that caliber of a player to get back on the field as soon as possible. Putting him on the IR, you're handcuffed for 4 weeks, no matter what. Even if he feels better in 2 weeks, there's nothing you can do. But I think that just sends a message to the whole NFL and the locker room itself.
Players don't tank, franchises do.
Yep, totally. No, I couldn't have said it any better than Nico did. I think couldn't agree more with everything he said. It's a shame to see him hurt. He's like arguably one of the best receivers in the league. If it is a real legitimate injury, which it most certainly is, make sure you treat it right. Make sure you keep that team afloat week to week and continue to inspire and get up for these games, because they are hanging in these games. They're just not winning and closing them out like they were last year. But I like O'Connell as a coach, and again, the commentary with the Chiefs, they could lose any of these games. They could easily go from being 4-1 to 2-3. So,
No doubt. But and as for the Chiefs, though, Chiefs don't really seem that dominant in the first 5 weeks, don't you think? What do the Chiefs have to do to be more intimidating?
I definitely agree that the Chiefs have not proved that they have been what they've been the past 2 years by any means. But I will say the one thing they do is they win football games. Even last week versus the Jets, that game was so sloppy on Kansas City side. Mahomes' worst statistically game, arguably in the NFL. And this team is going to win football games, but they do have to figure it out. You're not going to be able to pull off close ones as much as you think, as we saw at Minnesota last year. But I think Hayden brought it up. They're like 11-1 or something in one possession games last season, and
yeah, now they're like 0-5 this season.
Seriously,
this season through one possession game.
You can only live and die by playing in these type of games for so long. And I personally think the Chiefs really need to turn it on. I don't know if it's something with like the receiving core, like Kadarius Toney. They need one of these guys to set up Sky Moore. Somebody needs to step up and be like, you know what, like we'll help Kelsey out. We're gonna help this team out, get open, make big plays. They need that playmaker outside of Travis Kelsey right now, and they really just don't have it.
Yeah, they've lost 4 games this season actually by 1 score. The Vikings. So they're 0-4 in 1-score games, as opposed to when they were 11-1 last year. So
crazy.
All right, guys, let's do our favorite part of the week. Let us make some predictions for Week 6 in the NFL. Week 6. How about that? We got 12 weeks to go. Let us do it. The 3-month mark begins, and let's have some fun. Thursday night football. We have the Denver Broncos at 1-4 go into Kansas City to play the Chiefs at 4-1. The Chiefs are opening at -10.5. Where is this going? I think the Chiefs are clearly going to win this victory, but as Nico pointed out, they win games, but they usually don't cover, and this is going to be an example of this happening once again. Give me the Chiefs with the win, but give the Broncos with the points at 10.5. That's steep.
I
Yeah,
completely agree.
give me the Broncos in this game, 30-23. So I'll take the Chiefs with the
Wow.
money line, the Broncos with the points.
That's high. That's high number for Denver.
Yeah, I give me Denver plus 10.5 right now. One bet I do like in this game, and it's something that has proved me wrong almost every week so far, is I'm going to bet another under containing the Denver Broncos, and so far that has not been great to me this NFL season. But I do expect this game to be like a sloppier type game, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Broncos, Russell Wilson has a drive to win the game late in the fourth quarter and turn it over, but wouldn't be surprised.
It's wishful thinking. No, I think Broncos are going to be. They're gonna lay down in Kansas City. I think they're gonna have a tough time. I don't agree that. I do agree with you that their Kansas City probably will not cover. I think that Broncos. It's going to be a low scoring game. I think it's going to be somewhere around a 23-17, 23-16.
Okay. Back to London this week, 9:30. Don't forget, this time we have the Baltimore Ravens playing the Tennessee Titans. Baltimore is opening at -4.5. Give me the Baltimore Ravens and give me the points. I think they'll be able to handle the Titans as a much weaker opponent in this scenario.
Yeah, I agree with that. Give me the Ravens with the points and the money line.
I think the Ravens will. I don't think they're going to cover, but I think they'll win. I think they'll win a tough game on a shortened trip, and it's I think that the Ravens are in a world of hurt right now on offense, and I think they're going to be kind of like even par with the Tennessee Titans.
I will say
Yeah,
that sorry to interrupt, Nico, but I was just saying that with that -4, it's almost asking for a backdoor cover to happen.
Right.
No, absolutely. I agree with Alex. I do think Baltimore finds a way to win this game late. But I do think it's a 3-point game. I do like Tennessee covering the 4.5. I won't be betting that. One bet I will be placing in this game. I like the over. I think it's going to be a sneaky shootout. I got like a 27-24 final. I think both offenses need to prove that they need to wake up, and I think they're going to prove that this week versus one another.
Yep.
Yes, the over-under is 41, so let's see if that happens. And I'll include the over-unders from now on, too, with this to get some perspective. So we have the Washington Commanders going to Atlanta. 2-3 Washington, 3-2 Atlanta Falcons. The spread is -2.5 for Atlanta. The over-under is 42. And I'm going to have the Washington Commanders get a bounce back victory, and they're going to get the points as well. So give me Washington on this.
Yeah, I'm taking Washington on this too. I think they're going to be able to exploit Atlanta. I think they have more explosiveness on offense than Atlanta does. And I actually think they're going to go to Terry McLaurin and they're going to let Sam Howell feast. Give me a 26-24 victory for the Commanders.
That's high. I feel like it's going to be a low scoring.
I'll take an over too on this one.
I think this will be a low scoring affair, but I do think that Commanders will have a bounce back game. I like the 2.5. I think it's somewhere around a 20-17 type of game. I'll take Commanders.
Yeah, no, I also think this is a under game. I do think it's gonna be low scoring. I really don't like a side in this game. If I had to pick, I'd lean Atlanta. But I really just don't like it either way. I really think it's gonna be 17-14, 13-10, something like that. Low scoring game final.
All right. Also breaking news. We have the Texas Rangers defeating the Baltimore Orioles, knocking them out, and the Texas Rangers advance to the ALCS. How about that for the first time since 2012? No, 2011. So how about that? Baltimore will be back. I think they have plenty of postseasons to come. And Rangers, Jacob deGrom, and without Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer still were able to ride high. So I just wanted to mention that. Back to football. So we had the Seattle Seahawks at 3-1 are going to Cincinnati to play the 2-3 Cincinnati Bengals. Pretty good stuff. Cincinnati's actually opening at -3. Over-under is 45.5. And in this, I think the Bengals continue a winning streak. They're going to win this game. Give me the Bengals and the points right here, thanks to another stellar Jamar Chase game and Joe Burrow showing that he is going to be all right.
I'll take the Bengals and the points here.
Yeah, I agree as well. But I think this is an over game. I think this is
an under game.
Oh no, I think this is gonna be more of a high scoring game. I don't. The more I think about it, I think 3 is a little tentative for Cincinnati at home. I never trust West Coast teams going east. I think that this is probably. I think Bengals will cover, and they're going to go. It's going to be an over game. I think this is going to be a high shootout game. So something around a 34-24 type of game.
I'm gonna agree with Hayden here. I have this game going under. I do think Seattle coming off a bye is going to be very strategic and shutting down Jamar Chase in this offense. I think Vegas, this is another one that they have right on the money. I have Cincinnati winning this game by 3. I think I have like a 20-17, 23-20 final here.
Yeah, I have something like that, but I actually think this is going to be slower than that. I think it's going to be like a 20-13 game. Okay. Like, I just don't think there's going to be a lot of points scored in this game, actually. I just feel like with the elements in Seattle, traveling to the central time zone a little bit. Not central, but Cincinnati. The cold a little bit different than Seattle. So, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting game.
Interesting game indeed.
Yeah, I don't mean to say breaking news. I don't know if we have UFC fans that listen.
Of course, you could always say breaking news.
I'm a massive UFC news. Charles Oliveira has backed out of his fight versus Islam.
Did he really?
And Volkanovski is replacement.
Oh Islam my God. Yeah.
I'm so hyped.
Volkanovski's gonna face Islam.
Yeah, Volk's the replacement.
Actually, that's gonna be
Islam versus Volk too. It's gonna be a rematch.
A rematch? The rematch?
Yeah, it's about time. I'm excited.
Yeah, they're arguably saying that Volk could have won that match, so that's pretty interesting. Actually,
I think he did. It was close.
Did they say why he withdrew?
No, I literally just went on like 3 people texting me in the past 2 minutes.
You're right. That is absolutely massive news for UFC. Wow.
That is like the biggest.
I mean, like give the people what they want though. Like Volk versus Islam as a rematch is nobody's gonna bat an eye at that rematch.
Everything is on the line. Should be good stuff there. All right. We also had the Indianapolis Colts going to Jacksonville. 3-2 Colts, 3-2 Jags. The Jacksonville Jaguars are favored at -4 with an over-under at 45.5. And with this, if you're asking me, what do I think is going to happen? It was a real tough one. I think with Gardner Minshew, it looks like he will be starting in this game at this moment. Anthony Richardson is ruled out already. So with Gardner Minshew, with a healthier Jonathan Taylor in his second game, and with Jacksonville, we've seen can be vulnerable on defense. I think the Indianapolis Colts gets this upset, and they're going to get the victory. So they will be able to get those points there easily and win that bet. And if you're asking me an over-under, give me under 45.5.
Yeah, I'm going Jacksonville with the points and the spread, but I'm going the under too.
Yeah. So we were just talking about it earlier. And Hayden mentioned it. I would think it was completely unfair that Jacksonville had 2 straight games in London. However, coming back to the States playing this game is going to hurt them. I have the Colts outright, and I think the Colts are going to sneakily dominate this game.
Wow. I don't see it like that, but I could understand your reasoning. But I think Trevor Lawrence is going to play really well in this game. I think it's going to be an under game, but I do think it's going to be an under game.
Yeah.
Like I just don't think the Colts going to score too many points in this game. I'll go like 20, 26, 13 Jacksonville.
So, yeah, I think it's going to be an under game too. I just think the ground game is going to dominate this week. I think a mixture of fatigue. You've been overseas.
Yeah,
for,
no, I mean two straight weeks for then come back to the States is tough.
it's tough.
Yeah.
And 10 to 12
Like,
days.
I'm not disagreeing with you on that.
Absolutely. And I just really think they're going to be a little tired. And I think this Colts offensive line and run game is just going to wear them down in the first half versus the second half. I really think it's going to be, I think they're just going to roll over.
I'm kind of in the same vein as you guys. I think the Colts are going to win this game. Jacksonville's, their fatigue, but I think they're also catching them off guard. I expect, a high stakes, high shootout affair. I'm definitely going to go over on the spread as well. I think the Colts will probably win something like a 34-31. I'm sorry, like a 34-24 type of game.
All right, we have the Carolina Panthers going up against the Miami Dolphins. Carolina at 0-5, Miami 4-1. All right, the spread is minus 13.5, which isn't the biggest spread of the week. The over/under is 48.5. And you know what? Though I don't think the Panthers defense is as well, actually, let me say this.
Inept.
No, of course they're not inept, and the Giants defense showed they were able to get some turnovers on them, but I do think I'm going to take the risky spread at minus 13.5, and I think they can win by 2 touchdowns and be overwhelming against the Panthers, where we have a team that is clearly ready to win now and a team that is rebuilding, and it seems like it's taking a sweet time, if you know what I mean. So give me the Miami Dolphins winning by 2 touchdowns, even with the injury to the chain, and they'll be able to do all right there.
I'm going to take Miami with the money line, and I'm going to take, the Panthers with the spread. And I think this game is going hard to say. I'll take the over, I guess, for this game.
I'm definitely taking. What was the over, Matt?
48.5 right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little high for my liking. I would go under.
But I agree with 48.5.
But I think Miami will dominate. I see a 30-14 type of game, Miami.
The reason I'm taking the over is because I think there's going to be a lot of garbage time in that game for Bryce Young. So that's why I'm taking the over in that game. But it's 48.5 is a really high number. So I probably, in theory, you should take the under. But the reason I'm taking the over is because of the garbage time. I think Bryce Young will score some points and go in garbage time.
I do agree with that. I do like the over in this game, even though it's that high. One play I really like, even though it's one of the highest team totals I saw in a long time, is the Miami Dolphins team totals at 31.5. I think the Dolphins score 5 touchdowns. I think they might even score 6 touchdowns. They might even score 7 touchdowns. I think they might cover the over by themselves. I do like Miami in dominant fashion, and Carolina's defense hasn't been great, especially on the road early on the season. Mixed with some turnovers that offense is going to force, our defense is going to force. I really have Miami in a 42-14, 42-7 final.
Yep. I agree.
Eat it up. Let's talk about more bad teams. So the Minnesota Vikings are going to Chicago this weekend. Minnesota at 1-4, Chicago at 1-4. The line is minus 2.5 for Minnesota. The over/under is 44.5. I do think points can be scored in this game, especially from Chicago. That over/under might be. Actually, no, I shouldn't say that. And especially if they are ready to start trading assets, the Chicago Bears. Very interesting. I'm gonna say the Bears get their second win of the season at home. And first game post Dick Butkus' passing should be emotional in that place, and they want to represent well. While the Vikings with no Justin Jefferson, with problems on the run game, with Kirk Cousins figuring out who is this man, what does he do, where is he going. I think the Bears actually take advantage of a franchise still figuring themselves out, and they'll be able to put some points against them. Give the upset to the Bears, plus 2.5.
Yeah, I'm taking the Bears in this game as well. With the spread, I'm taking the over too.
Yeah, I'm staying away from the total in this game. I don't really know if there's going to be a ton of points or not. I think the Bears are a team where it's tough, but I got the Bears winning outright. Staying away from the over/under. I do think Minnesota, like I mentioned earlier, sent a message to their locker room. And I think Chicago, Justin Fields is getting some swagger back that we saw at Ohio State 2 weeks ago against Denver. He played a great football game. They fell short, but then last week he balled out again against Washington. I think we're going to see a third straight week of Justin Fields having another great performance. And I think the Bears win this game outright.
Yeah, I agree with Nico and everything. Yeah.
I agree with you guys as well. I think this is somewhere around a 2013 type of game. I think both offenses are anemic. I don't think there's going to be a lot of garbage time to dilly-dally. But, these division games are tough to pick because I think the margin of error is so slim. Margin of victory is so slim. So I'm going to stick around a 20 to 13 type of game. Chicago.
The San Francisco 49ers are going to Cleveland. How about that? 5-0 49ers and the 2-2 Cleveland Browns. Cleveland only opening at -5.5. Over/under is only 37.5. So it looks like it's going to rain in this game.
That's
Add that factor in
37.5,
there.
the over/under.
Yes,
take the over on that. Take the over.
for sure. I think.
Yeah,
we'd love to hear.
No, so I think San Francisco is going to prove why they're San Francisco, and they're going to dominate this game once again. And I have like one of those old school 24-0 possible shutout final, which is rare, but maybe like a 24-3. Browns kick like a little field goal towards the end.
Oh, so you think the under is going to hit then?
I do. I personally think the one bet I do like in this game a lot is Browns team total under, which I want to say it's like 16.5. I don't remember correctly. I was looking at it earlier this week. But yeah.
No, I think this game is going to be 33-10, the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, I do think San Francisco.
I'll take the spread. I'll take the spread, and I'll take the Niners in this game. I think San Francisco is going to continue to dominate because they just have too much talent on the offensive side of the ball. And I don't know. I don't necessarily think Cleveland is physical enough at this point, but they actually Cleveland has pretty good defense, so I don't know.
I'll take the spread and the over. I see a similar dominant fashion. I see San Fran somewhere around like a 35-6, basically.
16.5 was the number. Great bet.
Yeah.
Total under. Take it.
What's the next game on the docket?
So this is interesting for Hayden, who talked about the Saints maybe being a sneaky team out here that could put up points.
Yeah, definitely.
So they play the the New Orleans Saints are going to play the Houston Texans. And the Saints are opening at -1.5 with the over/under being 42.5.
-1.5. Wow. That's I'll take the Saints on that. Give me the Saints with the spread and Saints with the money line. And I think I'm going to go over in that too. I think there's going to be a lot of points in that game. Carver Stroud should score some points.
I do agree with Hayden. I think there's going to be a lot of points. This one's tough to tell. I really think it's a coin flip. Obviously, Vegas setting the spread at 1.5 makes it a coin flip, but I do think it's going to be one of those games that's going to be high scoring. I think either team could pull it out late, but I think if one team pulls it out, it will be the Saints.
No, like I said, these are the NFC South's looking pretty good actually. You have three teams that are actually going to be in the mix all year. Atlanta should be in the mix all year. New Orleans I like, and I think Tampa is going to be a lot better than people think. So you got three teams actually that could win eight or more games actually. So it's going to be interesting.
I'm actually going to go with the Houston Texans getting this upset over them. I think they could get back in their winning ways, especially the home factor.
I can't fault you. Where your shots played. I can't fault you at home. No.
Yeah, and they've been particularly playing very well at home this season. So I think that's one of the major factors here. And as long as they're able to get some points, they'll be able to get it. You got to pick Alex.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, I'm taking Houston in a tight game as well. So I'm seeing something around 30-27. I think they'll cover the money line.
All right, the 4:00 games. The New England Patriots are going to Vegas. We have the 1-4 New England Patriots play the 2-3 Las Vegas Raiders. So we have the spread at -3, 3 even for the New England. Nah, just kidding. The spread is -3.5. No, the spread is -3 for the Vegas Raiders. The over/under is just 41 on this 75-degree day in the dome. What's going to happen? Give me the Raiders and the points at -3, and it's going to be a very uncomfortable, close game where I will just take the under. I could see them. I could see it being like a 20, I could see it being 20-17 and killing you on that over/under number. But it should be interesting, especially with a very weak offense with the Patriots and a defense that could take advantage of teams at home, like we just saw on Monday. I think the Raiders can give false hope to Alex and get another victory and go 500 after the first 6 weeks.
I don't have hope, so I'm not worried about it. That I see somewhere around a 20-17 type of game for Oakland for a win.
Yeah, I mean, this game is like, I feel like when it's two terrible offenses and you expect there to be few points, I feel like this is a type of game that will surprise everyone and go over. Like, I feel like the NFL does that too all the time, where if you think one thing is going to happen one way and it does the complete opposite. So I'll take the over in this game. This could be Jacoby Myers' revenge game versus New England. I don't know why they let go of him in the first place. But
Joke. They chose Juju Smith. Stupid.
Yeah, I don't really understand that in the first place. But we'll take Vegas with the spread and Vegas with the points.
Yeah, no, I have Vegas winning this game. I have it pretty comfortably.
I don't think it's gonna be comfortable now.
I think it is.
I think Mac Jones is going to come out and play well, actually, this game.
I don't. I think Mac Jones' confidence is completely gone. I think this offense's trust in Mac Jones is completely gone. I really think the Raiders win this game. Not like in dominant. I just think it's you're not sweating the 3.5. I'm going to put it that way. I have the Raiders winning this game by 2 possessions.
I mean, we've seen quarterbacks recently, like with their backs against the wall, play pretty well. Like Desmond Ridder, for example, last week. We saw Zach Wilson with the walls caving in play pretty good versus Kansas City. I think could be a game in which Mac Jones actually plays pretty well.
Correct. But the difference with all those teams and Mac Jones is those teams actually have weapons that can make things happen versus the Patriots don't have.
Yeah, the Patriots don't have anything. But I also think the Raiders defense is pretty weak, but we'll see.
I'm just happy the Raiders aren't in prime time.
What do the Raiders fan have to say?
Oh well, if you want an easy win, go play the Raiders. But no, I think the Patriots they're shattered. They're pretty broken right now. Which is why I think that the Raiders will win a tight game because you can count to keep games close.
Raiders are so shattered, an easy win. You could be 3-3. You win that game, so obviously not. So
No, I'm saying New England's shattered.
Yeah, New England. I'm just saying generally, like we crap on the Raiders. They could be 3-3 with this win. So
Yeah, but you got McDaniels at the helm, so.
Yeah, that's true. Actually,
Alex, what do you think of Mark Davis's new girlfriend at 26 years old? Hayden, you're 25, right?
Oh, I did not know that until you just told me that. So that's interesting. Yeah,
he's dating a Cirque du Soleil dancer.
We'll talk about that more. Hope when we get these
definitely
picks
not.
It's getting a little late, so I want to get these picks done quick.
Yeah. She's not dating for looks. She's got the Helen Keller vibe. So, all right, let's keep going.
Mm-hmm. Mark Davis was like, "I choose you. Look at all my money." Playing these slots at the airport. So we have the Detroit Lions going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Detroit -3. Over/under is 44 points. Give a dominant victory, continuing the undefeated home record. And the Detroit Lions with the beatdown on a very impressive Tampa Bay Bucs team. But I think Detroit's going to continue offensive dominance.
This is a tough one for me. I think it's the best game of the week, actually. I think Tampa Bay is looking really good. I think it's interesting. You got a quarterback with Moxie with Baker Mayfield, and then you got a coach with Moxie at Dan Campbell. So it's gonna be a fun personality. It's a really cool game to watch. I don't really know actually in this game. I think I'll go under, but part of me wants to take Detroit. But part of me also wants to take Tampa Bay. I don't know, man. I think I'm going to take Tampa Bay outright in this game. I think this is one of the games in which Detroit's going to lose. Like, I think Detroit will still win like 11 or 12 games, but I think this is one of the games in which Detroit's going to lose to Tampa, actually.
I 100% agree. I think this is also one of arguably my favorite game of the whole entire week, whole entire weekend. I'm so excited for this game. I have the Bucs winning outright. Like you said, I do think the Lions are going to get their wins, going to get 12, maybe even 13 wins. But this is one of the
Yeah,
games
they're going to be really good. I just think this is a game which this is a game in which people are going to finally realize how good. How I feel like they're going to realize that they're going to start to go board the Baker Mayfield hype train.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree. I really think this is a game where people realize Tampa Bay is not a joke this year, and Tampa Bay is going to be legit. Even though obviously you don't have Tom Brady, you're still a team. You can still compete. I really think they do prove that this Sunday and beat Detroit.
Yeah, I'm kind of in lockstep with you guys on this one. And I think they cover as well.
All right, we have the Arizona Cardinals playing the Los Angeles Rams. Cardinals are going to Los Angeles. And the over-under number here is 48.5. I think the Rams are going to be able to get that risky cover at -7. And I think give the under, though, in points.
Yeah, I'll give the Rams with the cover, and yeah, I'll take the under as well.
I actually like the over, but I think the Rams dominate. I do think the Rams absolutely dominate this game from start to finish. I do think Arizona will get a few late touchdowns, but overall the Rams are going to win this game by 14 plus.
I have the exact same thing, actually. I think it's going to be like late couple touchdowns for the Cardinals, but the Rams are going to dominate in bounce back fashion.
All right, another primetime game for your New York Jets. They're playing at home. They're hosting the 5-0 Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are undefeated against the Jets in their regular season series, 12-0. So the spread is Philly at -7, over under 41.
Ooh, all right. Give me. I'm. You know what? I'm only doing this because I want the Jets to win. So I'm not doing this because I'm not doing this because I think it's the right thing to do. But I will take the Jets outright in this game. I'm gonna shock people. I'm taking the Jets outright in this game. Philly's got to lose some games. Philly's got to lose some games. I don't think they're gonna go undefeated. Every year there's a head scratching game in which they lose. I think Zach Wilson plays good in this game. Give me the Jets in this game. 28-24 Jets.
Wow.
Outright. Shocking. I know people are gonna cut my head off for that one, but I'm taking the Jets. I'm taking the Jets. I will do it one time.
I think your background head off for you. I like the Jets in this game too. Again, Eagles, they've been playing these tight games.
Don't be stupid. Take the Eagles in this game. Don't be stupid. I'm only doing that.
I'm genuinely I've seen enough tape the past few weeks to convince me that I think that the Jets can hang in there with this team. And
Jets can hang in there, but don't take them straight up to win. Don't be.
I'm going to. So stop interrupting me.
Oh, you're crazy. You're crazy. Okay.
I got Jets. Somewhere around a 24-21 type of game.
You're living dangerously, but you know.
I have a very low scoring game. I do think there's going to be some turnovers by both sides. I think it's going to be a sloppy game. I didn't check the forecast of what it's going to be exactly.
I don't think it's going to rain. I don't think so.
Yeah, I really didn't look into it.
61 degrees and partly cloudy.
Okay, so football weather. Yeah, so I think it's going to be a low scoring game, but I think the odds makers got it right. I have the Eagles win this game by exactly 7. I'm thinking like
at least one of us is smart.
I'm thinking like a 2013 final is my early read on this game. And I really think I'm going to be very close with that score.
Sorry, yeah. Alex, I'm just busting your balls, so don't,
Give me the Jets spread at +7, but the Eagles are going to win this game. And for an over-under, give me the under there. I think it's going to be closer than people think. For Sunday night, and a game that should be flexed out for a lot of reasons, but we have the 1-4 New York Giants playing the 3-2 Buffalo Bills.
Oh, this is
Biggest
Sunday
spread
night.
of the week. The Bills are favored by 14 total points. Over under at 45. All right. I guess if you were going to ask me what's going to happen in a team that has such a hard time scoring, reckon now they have a injured Buffalo Bills defense to go up against. Give me the under here. I think they'll go under 45 points. And though I will pick the Giants plus 14.5 because I do think the Bills are worse than the Dolphins, and they were very close to covering the 12.5 point spread. They lost by only 15. I think they're going to get that, but I think they would only win by like 13, 12, maybe even hit that 14 number. But yes, give me the plus 14 points for the Giants, but give me under 45.
I just want to, first off, before I do anything about my take for this game, I want to apologize to Alex. Speaking about the Raiders and their prime time, get the New York Giants out of prime time, please. Do everything. If I see this team on another 8:20 kickoff game, I'm gonna just get a baseball bat and smash my TV. This team stinks. The organization, sorry, Matt,
No, you're not wrong.
Get this team out of prime time. I made that take with the Raiders without realizing the Giants are in primetime this week. I don't mean to go on a little rain here, but the fact that this is Sunday Night Football is absolutely absurd. I'm going to watch this offensive line embarrass themselves again on primetime television. I just can't believe I have to listen to Chris Collinsworth talk about how he was a tight end back in the 80s in the third quarter. It's going to be that one-sided. Bills are going to dominate this game. We're going to see again. It's not all Daniel Jones. We're going to say the same conversation next week. He's running for his life every single play. And I don't know how many times the NFL is going to, it's like, it's like that movie, like, I forget, like Bird Box, when like they're like making your eyes like wide open. That's what they're making us do with the New York Giants. They're making us watch this game. They're forcing it.
Yeah, I'll probably be watching MLB playoffs, to be honest with you. I just think this game is going to be a big old turd, and they should have flexed the Jacksonville Colts game in here. Or Detroit Buccaneers.
Yeah, this is gonna suck. Can't even make prop bets on it.
Yeah, I'll take the Giants with the spread, but I think the Bills gonna win the money line. I'll go like 30-17. What's the spread again?
14.
Yeah, I'll go 30-17 Bills.
Even though my favorite spread of all time is New England minus 14, Super Bowl 42, but this is not that Giants team. Okay, Monday night, pretty solid game actually. We have the Dallas Cowboys at 3-2 going up against the 2-2 Los Angeles Chargers. The spread here is just Dallas at -2. The over/under's at 51. In what will be definitely a Dallas Cowboys home game because there's no Charger fans whatsoever. I think the Chargers are actually going to defeat and get the upset against the Cowboys. And going off a bye week, it looks like Austin Eckler is going to be making his return for this game. And I think this is going to be a real challenge for Dallas that they will not be able to overcome. And for an over/under, give me under the 51.
Yeah, I'll take the under, and I'll take Dallas in this game actually over LA. I just slightly trust Mike McCarthy more than I trust Brandon Staley. And I trust their staff a little bit more at Dallas than I do with the Chargers. So give me the Chargers. No, give me the Dallas money line, and give me an under spread. Under points.
This is one of those games that I had highlighted coming into the season. One of my regular season games I was really excited for. I was very high on the Chargers. I had them winning the AFC West and still think they can arguably win the AFC title. I think we learn a lot on Monday Night Football with these two teams. I think it's an interesting spot for both of them. Cowboys obviously coming off a big loss, Chargers coming off a bye. I'm very, very excited for this matchup. I do think Dallas is going to win this game, and it's going to be a close game. I think one team's going to have the ball late in the fourth quarter, and it's just whoever makes the big play is going to end up winning this football game.
Yeah, I totally agree. Both teams need victory, I think. And both teams are really bad in prime time, so it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds. But I think Dallas will prevail very slightly at the end, somewhere around a 27-24 type of game.
All right. Excellent work, everybody. Let's see how week 6 goes. It's going to be a good one. See you later, Alex, Nico, and Hayden.
Good job.